Well, hello and welcome to my latest project. Now, those of you who subscribe to me may have noticed that it's been a very, very long time since I posted anything. And that is because this particular project has taken me forever. And in fact, it's not yet finished as I record this. I'm trying to make a traditional Tanto knife. Now, not a standard Tanto, just with a sort of, a handle and a scabbard that all fits together nicely. I've also decided to challenge myself and make the guard, the pommel, the bolster. They've all got Japanese names, which we'll cover as we go, but I'm also going to try and wrap the handle with the manta ray and an Ito lace. I'm trying to do it all, okay? And I've had to learn all kinds of skills that I really don't have, including coppersmithing and some rather testing carpentry or woodwork. And that's one of the reasons it's taken so long, apart from life just getting in the way, as it does. Anyway, I hope you find it interesting. It's quite a long haul. It'll be in many parts. So please, if you're interested, remember to like, subscribe, and if at all possible, click on the bell next to the subscription button underneath here, which will allow you to find out when the next installment comes out. So anyway, I hope you find it interesting. I hope you'll bear with me. And I hope those of you who've never done anything like this might learn as I have going along and probably do it better than I'm doing. Anyway, thanks so much for being here and enjoy. Now, sadly, I don't have the skill to draw my own design. I'm practicing it, but I'm not there yet. So it was important that I find a template that I was happy with. And a lot of the ones I found were very straight tantos, very straight spine, a straight edge. And this is the one I really liked. I'm going to put a link to where I found it below in the description. The only difference is that I'm not going to attempt a fuller. Actually, I don't particularly like the fuller on a Tanto. I like them very plain and simple. So this is the one I've used. Now, a lot of people would have cut out the template like this and stuck it onto the steel and then ground and cut around it. But I've got a real thing that I like to use these templates again, and rather than cut it out every time, etc., I stick them onto a piece of thin ply, although this one is a bit too thin. I usually like a sort of slightly thicker one, but that's all I've got. And then I will use a fret saw to cut around the edge. So that's the next stage. Now, of course, this is far from perfect. It's the general shape, and I'm going to finish it on the belt grinder or maybe with some sandpaper, and I prefer to do that on the grinder, the curve here. So that's where we are now, and now it's just a question of refining the template. The stencil, I suppose I'd call it, or template. Anyway, that thing. So this is the piece of 1095 steel, which I have cut to size to try and minimize as much chopping of steel around it as possible. Actually, I'm going to turn it the other way around. I think that's a better fit. Yeah. So I'm just going to stick a few magnets just to try and help it not to slip too much. And as you see, that gives me quite a thick grind line and cutting line, so that I can give myself a bit of leeway, especially around here when I didn't cut the template terribly well. Hopefully that will give me some leeway. So this is what the blade looks like before it goes into the heat treatment. I've got it to a reasonable degree of polish. And then the next step is to start forming the basis for the hamon. In other words, the line across a blade that shows the difference between the fully hardened blade and the not fully hardened blade, which gives a very attractive pattern. Here I'm wrapping steel wire around the handle, which will help support the clay, which is going to create the difference between the unhardened spine and the hardened edge. Here I'm using very common pizza oven clay. Actually, it's a sort of cement. It's the same cement as I used when I built my heat treating oven, and it seems to be reasonably effective. I'm not totally happy with it, but it does the job reasonably well. And it's a question of applying it as evenly as possible across the whole blade, and that will then be allowed to harden like any normal cement. And then once it's hardened, I can put it into the heat treat. So now I have to make sure that it covers the blade very carefully. In fact, in this instance, it turned out I was a little bit sloppy. I could have done it better. So normally I would quench in my quenching tank, which would immerse the blade all the way in. But on this occasion, what I want to do is I just want to quench the edge. Now I found this big pan, and my wife is probably going to kill me. And I put all my oil in there, but it hasn't filled it quite as much as I wanted. This is the template that I used to get a sense. But what I want to do is I want to quench, I don't need to quench the handle. I want to quench the lower half of this. So I'm going to point it in there and try and quench it this way. Lots of things could go wrong. You could create an incredible warp in the blade. All these things can happen, but I really want to try it because I think it might increase my chances of success. So when we have reached 820, we will come back. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is to take off all the wire and the clay and see if it's hardened properly. Okay, first things first, it didn't warp, which is fantastic. And second test, it's skating. Right, well, that's cheered me right up. Okay, now we're getting into the good zone. It's starting to catch. Yeah, so it's about 60 Rockwell. And that was only just. So I'm really pleased with that. Okay. I'm going to tidy this up and keep going. Well, it's there. It's very hard to show. Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I mean, I'd leave it in the ferric chloride quite a bit longer in the final analysis of things, but I think I'm in a good place now to keep going. And yeah, I'm quite pleased with this blade actually. I just wanted to share a trick that I learned, which has turned out to be incredibly effective when you're basically polishing and sanding for hours and hours. If you put this Loctite rust remedy on the blade and then start sanding, it really does go a lot quicker. And I'm very grateful to have learnt this trick. And I'll try and show you. I don't know if it'll really come off on camera, but it might be worth trying yourself. You just paint it on the steel like this. Obviously use a disposable brush because this brush will very soon be a thing of the past. Okay. Again, I'm sorry, I really don't know how well this will show up on camera. And I was already quite far down the line, but it is, I mean, here to me it's very noticeable that it speeds up the process of polishing. And I don't know if that's because the Loctite actually has some abrasive in it, but anyway, it does save a lot of time. Don't get me wrong, you still have to do plenty, but it's very effective. I think very much so at the higher grits as well. Anyway, give it a shot.